Blade Talk with Scab and Joe.
The American experiment requires us all to push the boundaries.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Sit back, relax. We got a pretty good show here. Please don't forget our U.S. veterans. Growing awareness for veteran suicide. Hashtag 22 a day no more. Veterans, you always have a place here. There is a number in the description of all of my videos for some good folk that can help you if you are in despair. Welcome to Blade Talk, everybody. Really excited about this show. Welcome everybody into the room. I know there's a couple people in the chat room already. We got a couple different venues going on. I know Peter had asked his crowd to come in, so they're going to come in from here and there and everywhere. And we got some live simulcast on my channel, Steel Mindset, and also obviously Choir Boys Outdoors at the same time. So we're broadcasting around the world at all times to 1.5 million people. So it's going to be exciting. But we got Peter Kohler in the room, and you guys know him from Dark Timber Knives or Dark Timber Custom Knives. I mean, he's going to elaborate as far as his back history, which is very rich in knife history. I got to tell you, I was speaking to him for probably about an hour or so, a lot of comments back and forth. And I got to tell you, you meet a lot of good people in this industry, but you rarely meet people that have so much passion into the whole knife world and into custom making knives. And I mean, this guy he makes art. I mean, he makes great knives, but he makes knives that are basically art forms that you want to pass down to your kids and grandkids. I mean, his pieces are that good, really beautiful stuff. And I honestly think that he doesn't run on blood. He runs on liquid metal. So that's basically what he's got in the veins. So he's got a lot of passion for the craft. He's going to tell you all about it. Very excited to have Peter in the room, Scab as well, as always. So let's get Blade Talk going. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And before I get them into the room, guys, you know that our lives, our channels are all dedicated to veterans, as you saw in the intro there. What that basically means is just awareness for our veterans, and veterans, you have a place here on our channels. Relax, enjoy, and join in the comment section. Guys, if you have any questions for Peter, please put them on the screen, and I will try my best to get them on and get them answered for you. So let's get Blade Talk into the room and into the room.
Dude,
all right.
Are you trying to start this video off with me crying because of how nice you are to me?
I like tears. Tears are good, man. They're emotional, and they cause, they cause a ruckus. It's good.
Well, I appreciate your kind words. I also I appreciate your intro. My wife is a veteran who was blown up in a roadside bomb in Iraq, and she and I have worked very closely with veterans, both through our different training that we've done and just as in the friendships that we have. And we actually just were talking this past week about the trauma that those guys go through. And so I just want to say thank you for being so consistent in representing the veteran community. I'm a fucking America patriot style of person to the end. So I just really appreciate that, man.
Well, good, man. And we appreciate, hey, listen, we appreciate her. I didn't know that. Let's do this. We're going to do this a little different, Peter.
Okay.
Typically, one of us, Joe or I'll have a knife and we talk about your knife, and I don't want to do that. What I want you to do is introduce yourself. I want you to give us up to, because you and I had a conversation, I want you to take us up to maybe the bushy, just how you started, get me to there. And then we're going to throw some stuff. I want to talk knife philosophy and where you're at right now. So yeah. Take it away, kid.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do it without this taking 3 hours.
Sorry.
We talked previously. I had a drug problem and an alcoholism problem, and I was a newly married guy, and I was working at the Children's Hospital, which that sounds horrible, but I was a respiratory therapist, and I was trying to change my life. And the long and short is I found archery as a way of trying to heal myself, trying to stay out of bars, trying to stay focused. And I made my own bow and arrow. I thought I was going to be a voyeur. And then I decided I was going to make my own knife. I make my own knife, and I go hunting, and I get an elk. This is a very abbreviated story. I get an elk. The guy who I'm with works at the hospital with me. He's a nurse practitioner. He asks for a knife. Then people just start asking for knives like left and right. You know, I barely knew how to make a knife. I couldn't make a knife. Like the fact is, I don't know. To this day, I don't really know why they were asking me for knives. And then the other thing was, as I was making them, I had this undeserved confidence in what I was doing. Like there was this feeling inside of me because I just started loving knives. And I started to feel like I'm going to just be a knife maker someday. Like I'm going to really do this. Like this is going to happen for me. And this guy, Chris Tanner from Prepared Mind 101, which was like a knife review channel that I was watching all the time. I was like always watching that and Nut and Fancy. And I was like super into it, like into every knife, like from the SE6 to the Trailmaster, you know, the Laredo Bowie and the Bark River knives. Like I just knew every single knife. And I used to watch this Japanese guy sharpen knives too. And Chris Tanner reaches out to me and he's like, "Hey, I want you to make me a knife." And I'm like, "No fucking way." Like is it okay if I swear?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're
okay. Good. I'm like, Chris is like, "Make me a knife." I don't want to do it because I know that I suck. You know what I mean? And I make him this knife called the Grizzly. And the Grizzly was like what I saw as a woods knife. So you ask like what brings, like my knife philosophy has always been based on the Bowie knife. So I still to this day believe that all roads lead to Bowie. If it's a Luco, it leads to Bowie. If it's everything leads to the Bowie. The Bowie is like the end pinnacle of it, and so there's so many versions of it. The Grizzly was my version of like a woods Bowie. You know what I mean? Like it had to have a spine that would allow it to baton. It had to be a size that was carryable. It had to have a handle that was comfortable. It needed to light a ferro rod. It needed to split wood. It needed to, you know, make you feel good. And anyways, I make this Grizzly and I send it to Chris, and like he loved it. Sorry, but let me close this blind real quick. Sorry, guys. He loves the knife, and then people love the knife, and all of a sudden I'm getting like phone calls and emails, and people want knives, and I'm like, fuck, I don't know how to really make a good knife, and now people think I'm a good knife maker. Like I better become a good knife maker, so I start making knives like nonstop. You know, I'm trying to hone my craft, and Bark River reached out to me. And I ended up, you know, just going up to Michigan, and then they designed a knife for me called the Grizzly. It sold amazingly well. In the meantime, like this is such an abbreviated story, but I met all of my heroes in the knife world. So like Adam DeRogers, Sam Lurkwin, Jason Knight, and then the big one for me was Claudio Sobral. And like, I don't know why he did it, but like, as all these changes are going on in my life, Claudio takes me under his wing as like his student. And I go to Argentina and I start learning knife making from him. And in my opinion, and there's people that are going to be in this feed and they'll disagree, I think Claudio's at least top 3 living knife makers on earth right now. I'll put his work against anybody's work. And so to be able to learn from him is just this most amazing thing. And then and in the meantime, so I'm learning that, and then I started my own production line, so of mid-tech knives. And I've got a couple of them here. So this is not the first one, but this is a honey badger, and I kept my focus at that time on like survival and camping and the woods. I started a group on Facebook called the Dark Timber Brotherhood. and it started to just blow up. You know, I would make a set of production knives, and there'd be like 700 of them, and they'd sell in like 2 minutes or like a minute and 45 seconds for like all the knives. And I kept focusing on the woods and on this, like on knives that people could work outside. My first one was called the Kodiak, and it was just bigger than the Grizzly but thinner. And then the second one, I think, was my 1911 Elite, which was a field knife. It's like this. This is the actual prototype from back then. And then I did the Honey Badger, and then I wanted to make hidden tang knives because the knife world didn't have cool production hidden tang knives. So I made the 1911 Commander, and then I made a Dark Knight Skinner. I did a collaboration with Jason Knight, and I felt like the people I had left behind were in the bushcraft world, and so I made the Bushy, and that gets me to where you asked me to get to.
Well, good. And I didn't want to put pressure on you to abbreviate it, but I wanted to cover that because you're a passionate guy. And I said this in the video, and I mean this. At this point and at this stage, that's what I want to be around. There's no point in wasting time with people that aren't. So, having said that, and the reason I asked you to take us to the Bushy was, I believe your whole thought process has somewhat transformed, and you're putting a little more art into it. So take us to where you're at. Just not take us, but talk about where you're at right now.
Well,
Because
so I
right
don't know if you
now
guys
you're kicking
can
ass
see
with
this.
this. That's
Can you
gorgeous.
see this?
Yes.
So this is feathered Damascus. This is based on a knife design that I actually did in production called the Comanche.
Gotcha.
So I guess where I am now is I loved the woods knives, but I also felt like I needed to be like my best version of myself. And so, like, if you do stock removal and then you get really good at doing stock removal and you're making those knives, you have to take it to the next level always, especially because my master always takes it to the next level. And so I wanted to show myself, and I wanted to show, like, there's so much ego involved, I think, in this job, because I wanted to show the knife world also that I could do more, that I wasn't a one-trick pony, and that, like, that my work can stand up next to great makers. And I don't need to or want to be the best knife maker on earth, but I want to be the best version of myself. So I started to move into making more complicated steel and working to make that complicated steel more usable and more like as strong as I could make it, and then to perfect my grinding and my finishing, and and then to take the design and so you feel a handle. You'll feel a handle. You take a look at this. Let me do something. You take a look at this. This is a 1911 Elite, okay? And you can see this hump right here, and it's got a great place to index, and the handle is open, right? Well, how do you take that same design? This is the same design, but how do you make it so the hand falls exactly where you want it? How do you make it so that the indexing is exactly where it needs to be? And how do you lock the hand inside of that handle without it causing a hot spot? I feel like my career is just like a massive set of baby steps of small adjustments, of stuff that I feel is already good, but just to move it forward and move it forward and move it forward. And the thing is now in my life, I want to continue down this path, but I also want to get back to making super brutal, amazing wood knives, with the knowledge of being in kind of this more fine art world, or I don't want to call it fine art. These more complex knives. I want to take what I learned from those complexities, and I want to bring it into a world of these knives where people can, where people can buy a custom knife that's tailored, like a suit tailor will tailor that suit and like tailor it to them and their use and make it perform amazing. Take all of those things that I learned from each world and make them a knife to take to Alaska that's like, I don't, if I called something a glory knife, would you understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes.
Like if I
100%.
have to fight a bear, what's the fucking knife I want to fight a bear with? Like I own my glory knife to fight a bear. So this was a gift from Sam Lurquin. And this is
That's
my
dope.
glory knife. And so I want to do what the other great makers did for me. I want to do that for all of my customers.
That's dope. That particular knife is dope.
This
And
is the number. Do you know how hard it is for me not to just copy this knife? It's insane. Every time I look at a knife, this is the one I want to make.
I love that.
It's
Let me ask you this. Let me throw this out
Sam
to you.
Lurquin Savo. If you ever get a chance,
Savo.
a Savo. It's named after the lions in Africa that killed all those people.
Yeah.
It'll probably run you like $4,000. It's worth every fucking penny. Get the knife and then beat the shit out of it. Don't save it
Yeah.
for another person to buy from you. Just take it and work it out.
Hey, let me ask you this while I'm thinking about it, because we're going to be all over the place with your Damascus, right? Do you ever catch any blowback for using Damascus? And
Yeah,
tell me how you pick your Damascus.
Well, so I make my Damascus.
That's what I was getting at.
So I don't choose it. I make Damascus that I feel like are images that are coming from inside of my heart. You know what I mean? So I can make Damascus that's made to be hard used. So like I make basically it's San Mai, and it's a Damascus, like Damascus on each side. So you can look at the Damascus with a core steel of like 80 CRV2 down the center. So it's just like this perfect blend of like flexibility and rigidity. And like, so that would be like, maybe I'm going to make a hard use steel, or maybe I'm going to make what I call a barbecue knife. A barbecue knife, I want it to be so beautiful. You know what I mean? Or a fighting knife, I want it to be so beautiful. When you take it out to fucking go to work against an enemy, like, I carry a sick 1911. You know what I mean? A 1911 isn't the most useful gun. It's the most beautiful gun. So
Exactly.
you know what I mean? That's what I want to have in that moment. I know the guys out there that are like, oh, you don't want to carry something nice and have the cops take it away if you have to use it. My whole philosophy is different. My philosophy is like, if it comes down to that moment that I'm never going to forget and is going to haunt me for the rest of my life, I want the coolest, most glorious thing I can possibly get my hands on. So I have a different mentality, I guess.
No, hey, I'm with you. If they're going to take something, make it worth it. If you've gotten to that point, shit has gone terribly wrong. You know what I'm saying? So holding on to it's probably not top of your, but I love where you're at right now in your making. I love the bushy. I keep wanting to call the damn thing the brushy, but the bushy. I love the way it feels, but I like where you've come, the point you're at. I like that you're saying you might do another production run. That's
But
cool.
if I
But
do
I
another
like where
production
you're
run,
at.
if I do another production run, I have to change. So like nothing I've ever done is perfect. And so the next thing I make won't be perfect, but I'm going to have to make it, like everything has to be tweaked better. You know what I mean? And learn from the past. So the bushy, like I love the bushy, but for me, the bushy had one major problem, and that was the radius that I did in from the handle from the handle material into the handle was too big of a radius. you know, and maybe some small contouring. You know what I mean? It's still good. There's nothing wrong with it, but you know, I would want to change things slightly. And I just want people to know, just because I'm talking about this Damascus and all this stuff, I brought this out. This is a cold steel Laredo Bowie. This is not, you know, the most expensive knife on the planet, but I would take this also into battle because I also have a deep love for the classic production knives of the past. Like I have a K-bar. I'm sorry, SOG, for whoever's a SOG person. I have a SOG agency. It is the most unreliable fucking knife I've ever touched, but I still love it. You know, I love knives, man. It's not
No, me too.
I don't want people to get the wrong idea and think, you know, that only a custom knife can do this thing I'm saying.
No,
It's not true.
no. Well, listen, first of all, Cold Steel's in the house. They're watching. Secondly, they're supposed to be sending me my Laredo Bowie.
Oh, I've
It's
got
in the
one.
mail.
I've got one, buddy.
Well, I'm glad you got one. I don't. You hear that, Cold Steel? Those are dope, man. Hey, here's the thing, though, Peter. What is that, a Laredo, Joe? How the hell does Joe have one and I don't?
I don't know.
Unbelievable. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Peter. If you do make a production knife, you can't. I'm trying to figure out how to say it. You can't just drop back and go, okay, here you go, guys. Here's a bushcraft knife. Here you go. It's going to have to be dope on every spectrum because of where you're at. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
It does, but it also, like, here's what it has to be. There has to be a why for
Yeah, yeah,
for
yes,
everything.
yes.
It doesn't have to be dope to everybody else. It's got to be dope to me.
That's my point.
I have to be able to explain my position on whatever I do to it. But I think, you know, so like, I don't think the best woods knife is the most beautiful knife. Like a really great woods knife, you know, an SE6 is a great woods knife. You cannot, you can hate SE or you can like SE. It doesn't matter. The design doesn't have to be pretty, but that's a fucking like really great tool. And
It is.
so are the Becker, like the Becker BK9. You know, I grew up on Becker. I grew up on Bussy. I grew up on Ontario. You know what I mean? I grew up on Bark River. I know all of them. And so, you know, as long as whatever I do is not, you know, I'm never going to take someone else's design and just tweak it to make it look
Yeah,
different. I'm going to make my own thing. And I don't even have a problem when people do that, to be honest with you. But for me, I'm going to do my own thing, and then I'm going to be able to explain the whole, like, where it came from and how I got there. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Absolutely. And
Okay, hold on
I
real
heard
quick.
you
My
do.
wife is going to see this. Amber, I am in a podcast right now, and you keep texting me, and it is unfair, woman. Okay. Sorry.
She may not care. That may be what she's texting you. Hey,
She's enjoying it.
I grabbed these, Peter, and I'm going to tell you why I grabbed them. They were sitting here to the right. Both are from YouTubers, right? But I love,
That bottom one, the bottom one speaks to me, really
yeah.
speaks to me.
But they made them and they sent them to me. And when you were talking about just a knife, doesn't have to be beautiful. They're both sharp as shit. They both get it done. When you said that, it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
certain knives that resonate with you for whatever reason. And I
Have
call
you
them,
ever seen
you
a
call
Lon
them glory
Humphrey
knives.
knife?
Say that again.
Have you ever seen a Lon
Yes.
Humphrey?
Yes.
Okay, so I know Lon, all right? And I followed Lon's work before I was a maker. And Lon's work could be described as rustic, or, you know, some people say unfinished. I always found it beautiful. And
Yeah.
so, like, I found the Brute de Forge world. That was the world I came into. And, like, you know, if you show a Lon Humphrey knife to a person that's not a knife guy, and they see those hammer marks, they're going to be like, well, what's that about? But a knife guy's going to see it and be like, well, that's a frontier's knife, and that's gorgeous, right? So Lon can explain in a very, I promise you, cantankerous way. If he watches this, Lon, you're a cantankerous motherfucker, but I love you. But he can explain exactly why he's doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter if it's beautiful to everybody else. I think Joe, I've watched now because I research people and I've seen Joe, and Joe like loves Japanese, work from what I see.
Yes.
And Joe, you might find like katanas and tantos and wakasabis and all these different knives so beautiful, and then the next guy sees them and he's like, why it's too many straight lines. They come together too harshly. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, listen, everybody's gonna find you. I know my mic was off before, guys. I'm sorry. Everybody's gonna find art and their liking in different things. That's just basically what it comes down to. It's about just you know what I respected about what you had said before. One knife we were talking about, was it the bushy?
Bushy, yeah.
The bushy knife. Remember, Scab had asked you if you were going to come out with another run, and what you said, which really impressed me, you find something. In other words, you take so much pride in your work. And listen, I'm there with you because I feel the same way with my work. When you take that much pride in your work, you can always see something that's great, but always say, you know what, could be better. It could be better. We could tweak that a little better. I'm not just going to just kind of run it out again with another rendition. I'm going to make it better. I'm going to tweak something, and I'm going to make the next line even better. And I respect that. I respect that because you're always basically, when you're your own worst critic, when you're your own critic, you're basically making your work better all the time. So I like how you conveyed that.
I'll tell you, I'm actually I'm working on that worst critic thing though. So I've been my own worst critic for my entire life, and I feel like if you heard the shit I tell myself, you wouldn't want to be friends with that guy. Because he'd be so mean to me, you know what I mean? So ruthless.
Right.
And so I'm actually, and this is totally random other thought. I've been actually really working on the story that I tell myself of my life. I learned that through an addiction coach, about retelling yourself your story. So I'm actually, I'm trying, I know this is going to sound woo-woo, but I'm trying to constructively criticize myself going into the future, not just say, because I think I'm tired of telling myself how much I suck.
Yeah.
and really kind of ready to be like, I'm going to make knives like Claudio, like my master, I'm going to do this. Sorry, this is totally tangential, Joe. I just thought of it because yeah, you gotta be able to admit when something's not perfect, right? But I think as human beings, especially as men, we talk like shit to ourselves, and it's not honest. It's not actually true that there's probably someone else here listening that's told themselves how much they suck for years, and it's just not true. You just don't suck. So sorry, I didn't mean to be weird.
No, it's a point that needs to be made.
It's a very good point.
Yeah,
it's something as one addict to another that we spend enough time beating ourselves up, and it gets a little old. And what might have started as motivation begins to wear on you, and you lose the motivation. And once you've lost the motivation, now you're just tearing yourself down. I agree. You have to change that. Absolutely.
Well, dude, and then I started pulling my design work and my art from a very dark place.
Right.
I had a good friend. I made him a sick knife, but I was in such a dark place. Corey, if you're here, I'm going to tell this story. But I made him this knife, and he got it, and he had to sell it because he was like, dude, this thing is fucking evil. You know what I mean? And we put this energy into the things we make and into the things we do. And, I went through a pretty dark period of time in my knife making. Being being a custom knife maker, dude, every custom knife maker that watches this is going to admit they're all fucking crazy, dude. They're all rejects. Every single one of them is somehow rejected. And then they all are having to criticize themselves because every other custom knife maker is criticizing them. And it's this like whole like world of negativity. So, my goal going into the future is just to like make work that is in service of other people and not feeding just some fucking thing inside of me. I don't know if you can get that if you're not making stuff or not. I don't know if that's an artist thing or what that is, but it makes a lot of sense to me. So,
Well, no, it makes sense. What's
Makes
in you
perfect
comes
sense.
out. What's in you comes out. I'll tell you what's crazy, Peter. When I started this channel, I started with my knives, right? Everybody thinks that, I don't know. I think everybody thinks that I magically started it, but I started with knives that I bought in the middle of a meth addiction, which is really weird. You know what I'm saying? Because you're in a
it's
deep
scary.
hole. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're fascinated with knives, and I've loved knives my whole life. But going into that hole, it just became another thing, right?
Yeah.
So all this around me that I started the channel with, and I've never really said it out loud, it was 90% was on a meth binge, which again isn't great. But I've got rid of some of. Then there are some, like you said, some of it was dark. Some of the
Yeah.
purchases were dark. They just
Yeah,
weren't,
man.
and you got to
I
clean
feel
that
you.
out. You got to clean it out.
I feel you, dude. But once, so okay, that I got rid of that from mine, and I'm not doing it. You got rid of that. Let me switch gears because so I have a question that I thought of because I thought if I come on the podcast, I gotta have my questions. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I can vividly remember being 11 years old, and I went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming with my dad, and we went into a knife store and there were two knives next to each other, and one of them was the Puma Bowie, and it had a stag handle, and it was a 6-inch long blade, and the other one was a Buck 119. Now I've had both of them, okay, but that day my dad bought me a Puma Bowie, and it was the knife that really set the pace. But so did the Buck 119. Those two knives set the pace, and they're in the background of my mind as knife. Like if someone says knife, basically a Buck 119 and a Puma pop in my head automatically. What are the starter knives from your childhood that's stuck with you in that like as that like 9-year-old or 11-year-old, however old you were, that little kid? What is that knife that little kid fell in love with? I want to know.
Joe, go first.
I would say it's not. I wasn't really allowed to play with knives as a kid. I came from an Italian household, so they just, very Italian. So it just, but my grandfather used to work. All right. My grandfather was a longshoreman. He worked on the boats and he was just tough as nails, this guy. Even when he lost the use of his legs, like it was hard for him to get around. He needed to do something with his hands. He always worked with his hands. So he used to make ships. He used to make ships out of wood, like just make these huge fishing ships, and used to paint them, make the little guys and all that stuff. And I remember he always had a buck knife. It may have been a 110. It was one of the earlier buck.
If it was a folder, I bet you fucking $1 million it was a 110.
It was a 110. It had to be a 110 because I remember the look of it. It had to be a 110. And he always had this freaking knife with him, and he did the carving and he did everything he needed to do with this folder, with this buck. And when I watch him work, he always had that knife in his hand. And we actually have some really amazing black and white pictures. My father was always a photographer when we grew up, and used to take pictures of him, and you see him with his knife just carving. So I think my memory of basically a guy and his knife or a man and his knife really came from my grandfather working with that buck knife, making his ships from hand, and then just, I mean, I had a sword passion along the way, but that's, I think, as far back as I can go.
Okay.
Probably in my like 9, 7, 6
I
years
bet
old.
your sword passion comes from like Conan the Destroyer. I bet you money, because like whenever I think of a sword, it's always like the sword of like Conan or Beastmaster. You know what I mean?
Go him, Joe.
I have it in the room somewhere, but yes, it was definitely the forge. It was definitely when they first forged it and he stuck it in the snow to cool it down. That's where it came from, man. I've said it in many lives before. That's where my passion came from.
Okay, love it.
Absolutely.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I got mine right here, dude. When I was a kid, my grandfather was an old World War II guy, right?
Is that an old Henry?
No, I don't know what it is, but here's the deal. He had a knife just like this, right? In his drawer. Had it just, it ain't no telling where he got it. And I was infatuated with this knife right here. And I asked him when I was 9 years old, he said, what do you want for your birthday? I could get anything I want. I wanted his knife, right?
Yeah.
He gave me the knife. And as a kid, you beat it up, you tear it up, and it's gone. A buddy of mine had one of these. I opened his drawer. We were working in his garage, and I about started crying. Literally, this wasn't but a couple of years ago. But it was this knife. But this knife actually spawned. The first knife I can tell you by name was a Randall Model 1.
Oh, hell yes.
That was the first one. And I used to see these in the back of those, the mercenary magazines, SOF and all that, in the late 70s and 80s. And this was my Grail knife. And in fact, JR, who sent me the Bushy, actually gifted me this one. It's a Randall Model 1-7. But the Randall, if you want me to put a name on one, the Randall.
That is awesome.
And I love it.
I want, like, if I was to say the knife I really want, like if I was going to ask my wife for a knife for Christmas, the knife I want is different from the knife that I want to make next. So I'll tell both. So I want a Loveless shoot knife, the parachute knife, the Loveless. I think that knife is so clean and so beautiful that if I could have any knife just to carry around that wasn't one of mine, I think I want a Loveless shoot knife. And the knife that I want to make, that it's kind of ridiculous, but I want to make the Rambo 2. Like Rambo First Blood 2, like the second movie where he goes back and he's got that kind of two-tone black with the bullshit fucking wire cutter fucking saw on the back.
Yeah.
You know, and like a round steel handle. I don't know how I would pull that off in my shop, but I want to.
I want to send you a link. You know who actually recreated all the Rocky movie knives? Our friend Donnie. Donnie Day. He recreated in his own design. He's a designer too. He does really well. He recreated all of the movies. He has Rambo 1, Rambo 2, Rambo 3. And he had KHI Nepal, not Nepalese, the cookie makers, make up these knives for him. Really nice ass kicking designs. I'm actually, when we get off, I'll send you some links so you can take a look at them. But he did a nice job with redesigning and stuff.
I think that our love for knives comes from those places. I think it comes from like the movies. Like if you were older, you might have been looking at Soldier of Fortune magazine or like into these different places, and like it was the movies and it was the pop culture. So I'm a motorcyclist, you know, I'm a biker. I've got a couple Harleys. I like Iron Horse Motorcycle magazine, you know, and like all that fucking old school 70s to 80s, early 90s stuff is super, you know, I know it's inspiring me today because I think what happened to me is I stopped developing at 13. Like I think I was growing up and I was getting more mature, and then I hit fucking 13 and I only got gray hairs. Nothing else changed.
Crashed out.
Yep. I don't know what happened.
And I think you're right. I'll tell you this too.
Let me get something for you, Pete, while you Scab talks. Scab.
We talked about it earlier, Peter. Cold Steel kind of. I like crazy knives, and if anybody's ever watched the channel, they know that my channel's known for big bashers and crashers, and it all harkens back to that. The movie Commando with
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. All of those.
Fuck
Look,
yeah, that's what it is, Joe.
that's it right there.
So you got to hold that up to your face, and then you got to have your eyes right outside of the sword, so it's like the Thundercats.
Breaks, the Thundercats.
Yep, there it is.
Exactly.
That's it. This is the father's sword.
But
So I feel like I'm so lucky, like I'm living out a dream reality, because as long as I can continue to pay my mortgage being a knife maker, I'm like doing exactly what I want to do on earth. You know, I love my kids, I love my wife, I love and I love what I do for my work. You know what I mean? It's like I get to fucking I just get to do exactly what I dreamed of doing, and I feel super blessed, you know, on earth for that. I also I do this thing in my business. It's called the Dark Timber Experience. And what happens is, like, let's say you guys were going to do it. You both would come and we would make Damascus or whatever steel you wanted to make together. Mm-hmm. And I would help each of you forge your dream knife with me. And I would make sure that by the time it's done, it's like at a professional level. Like it's not like shitty grind first class, right. You know, you're at your first class knife. It's like a finished professional thing that you dreamt up and I helped you to make a reality. And I feel like the thing I like about that, I don't like doing the work. I like the work is fine. But what I like about it is, like, I get to get these guys to be more like they're 13 or like young again, and live in kind of that imagination, because that's what, when we make knives, it's an imagination thing, you know, it's a childish thing.
Yeah.
And so I just love, and maybe there's a knife maker on here that's like, it's not childish for me. I make perfect tools for a tool man, but fucking not me. You know what I mean? I'm making like these like statues of emotion, you know what I mean? Like these tools of fucking how you feel. And that part of my job, that Dark Timber Experience, that's my favorite thing that I get to do, because it's not me just making it for me. It's me like serving those two guys when they come. So
that's badass, man.
I think that's cool. Yeah, no, we spoke about that before. And I love that idea. That's amazing.
Well, dude, and you get to work on, like, I've got like a $17,000 power hammer. You know what I mean? Like, It's badass equipment. So you know, let's say you're even a hobbyist knife maker. We can do things here you just can't do at home. There's a mill, a hydraulic press, an awesome hammer, 3 grinders. Like, the place is set. And in a really, I live in like paradise. So I live in the front range of the Rocky Mountains on like 5 acres, and like all you see is mountains from here. And so, you know, I'm really happy. You know, I'm really glad that I get to do this. And you know, I was, you know, Scott, I was like taken back when I saw that the Bushy was being reviewed. You know what I mean? Because it's been a long time, and I was like, that someone took the time to look at something that from my past like that, you know, it hasn't been there for a long time, but maybe there could still be interest in it. So it really sparked something inside of me that I appreciate, dude.
Oh yeah, dude. When JR hit me up, he said, "Hey, I've got a hold of 2 dark timbers. He's got the Bushy and the Honey Badger, and that'll be coming." I was stoked because I think I told you when we talked, the first time that I come across dark timber was TAC.
Yeah.
TAC Outdoors. And from that video that I watched of TAC all the way through till I put my hands, that your company has been a grail company for me. right? Everybody has their grill knives. My Randall's my grill, but Dark Timber was a grill company. So
Yeah.
I was really excited, and I'm looking forward to the Honey Badger. But I'll say this, it was everything I thought it would be. It was well done. It was well thought out. And you and I talked about the production part and the
Yeah.
nuance part that you would have added. But I really, I get excited about knives, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not,
You
but I
shouldn't.
got
That's why we're
really
here.
excited. It worked really well.
Dude, you're gonna love the honey badger. It's
So
better
I'm
than
stoked,
I
man.
love the bushy, but the honey badger's better than the bushy. For like a tool. Uh so it's super lightweight, um, like camp knife. Like
Yeah,
it's not a heavy duty chopper, it's not a little tiny, bushcraft knife. It's like that camp knife. If you have one tool and it's got to be light, it's just like a super comfortable. And I'll tell you, just so you can know what was going on in my mind at that time. So if you look close, you see that there's wood inside of the micarta on removable
yeah,
handle scales. And
yeah,
I wanted to take elements of Bark River, who does those like wooden handles so well. Like if you look at a Bark River knife, their wood handles are gorgeous.
They
But
are.
then
You know,
if you look at an Essie knife, you're like, I can use that so much easier. Like I'm not scared to use it because I can take it down, I can clean it, and I can change the handles out
right.
if I need to. And so I wanted all of those elements and like a fuller. I wanted to add stuff. I love choils on anything over 6 inches that's going in the woods. Like this knife, I want to choil up in there so I can really work the knife and get good control up tight. And so I think you're gonna really enjoy that knife. And if I was gonna redo a production knife, yeah, I would take the honey badger and I would take a couple of my custom knives. I've got one called the crow. I've got a couple of them. And I would take that honey badger and I would make it heavier and I would make it lock your hand a little bit more. There's like just a couple things. I made the blade wider. Um, I already know the nuances of what I would do is what I'm trying to say.
Well, talk about your handles some, because I did want to discuss your philosophy on handles because I was really impressed with the bushy and looking at the honey badger. I don't want to say it's a larger handle, but it's a larger handle. Talk about
Yeah.
that some. I'm fascinated
Well,
by that.
so handles, like a knife is only as good as its handle, and actually, like you can have a really shitty looking knife that just has an edge on it. Like it just needs an edge, a
Hmm.
piece of metal with an edge, and a good handle, right? If like let's say it's the end of times, the handle is the connectivity and is the safety for the person. So in production, handles are harder because the handle's got to it's got to fit the guy with the small hand and
Yeah.
it's got to fit the guy with the large hand all pretty well. And so you're compromising everything from the very beginning. And so if I'm going to use this knife again because it's easy to do it. This knife has a pretty good bird's beak on it, right? If I was to make this knife, I couldn't make this in production with this bird's beak because someone's gonna have a bigger meat hook, and now
Hmm.
this is gonna, everybody up to like a double XL could fit, but that triple
Yeah,
XL guy is gonna be fucking just having the worst time. It's gonna
yeah,
bite him up, and you got to put a glove on, so you can't do that. So that's the first thing. It's got to have a certain amount of like openness to the backside so that it's got to flare out so you can chop with it, so you can
Yeah.
work with it, but it's also got to be open enough that if your hand is really big, it can come out of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? You're not trapping it inside of it. And then I like knives that have an indexing point. So if I was to close my eyes and I reach down for the knife, I know just by putting my pointer finger into it, I know exactly where my hand is, right? If I'm inside of something and I have this I want a place to like index. And then the next thing is there's a flat to curved ratio. And when I say flat, I mean the distance from the spine to the belly side, the height of it. If the knife is too round, so if there's not enough flat, the knife will roll in the hand when you're doing work. If the knife is too flat, it'll get hot around its corners, and it won't melt into the hand. So there's got to be a really good balance between that flat side and then the curve. And there's nothing that fucking pisses me off more than when I see guys put a handle on a knife and then it's just squared off. It's the shape of the handle, but it's just like a flat material that's been beveled. That kills me. That doesn't mean, now that is what a Laredo buoy is, but this is intentionally that way because it's got a coffin handle. So it gets a pass. So I know everybody's going to correct me because I said that, but this gets a pass because it's a coffin handle. But like for me, I just feel like a handle's it's got to have a certain amount of like where it's not going to twist in your hand. Here's a really good example. So this is a Skinner. It's my Commander handle, but it was also on the Skinner, same exact handle. And it's a small knife and it's made for skinning. So it's ovular, but it's really flat so that if you're inside the belly of an animal, it won't, and you get onto bones, it won't twist in your hand. And it's a super small handle, but see how this falls in the back?
Yep.
It's made so you can get your finger over the back of it, and it's made so that you can put your finger in front of it. So I just think there's this, it depends on what the knife is going to do. So like the honey badger can be rounder than the Commander, but you have to look at what the knife is supposed to do, and then you got to think about the community, the range of people who are going to hold it, and then you have to meet all of their needs to the best of your ability.
Yeah. Well, somebody made a good point in the chat, which makes sense. Is a guy with smaller hands, it's easier for a guy with smaller hands to hold a larger handle than a guy with large hands to hold a smaller handle. So if you just basically give that breathing room, like you said, it'll be more conformed to even people with smaller hands. And I like what you said about your belief in the finger choils, because I'm really a big believer in that too. When you have would you say a knife, anything over 6 inches should have a finger choil.
If it's a dedicated woods knife.
Yeah.
So for fighting, it's not necessary, because for fighting, we can bring that guard as close to the blade's edge as we possibly can. You know what I mean? I still want an index point, and I want to be wrapped in. So if I pull out of something, it's going to hold it, and when I stab forward, it's going to hold.
Right.
But for the woods, I take this was called the Devil's Horn. I take this knife. I gotta be able to get up close to that edge. This was a prototype. We did about 200 of these, but so I gotta be able to choke up on that. Yeah,
that's what I like about this.
Buoy, huh?
It's a big, this is the Predator Hunter buoy from Work Tough Gear. That adds so much to it, because now it goes from being just a big chopper to like basically choking up on it and being able to do finer work on it by just adding that in. Then you can really bring that hand up or set it back, and again, you got the handle. So that's I love that philosophy, because I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah. I see them on I always think it's weird when I see them on folding knives that are like 3 inches. I'm like, why are we fucking wasting blade space for a choil on a knife that's as small as
that's a gimmick?
Like, why are we doing this shit?
That's a gimmick. I think that's gimmicky. I think it's gimmicky, and I think it's you can think so far out of the box, you're out of the whole thought process, in my opinion. And when somebody does that, to me, and I look at it and I go, no, that's not.
I think it might be gimmicky, but you know what I think it is? I think it's the maker having a hard time with the transition of its pivot point coming in, because they need a flat area of the pivot point to come out, and they're taking the fast way around that problem. And so that's always my thing. I'm like, maybe it's a beautiful knife, maybe it's strong, but you cut corners in the design in your head. So I don't trust you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't trust them. You know what I love for a fucking folding knife? I love a Recon 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
you know what's better than a Recon 1? A Tall War. A cold steel Tall War is a cool, for like an inexpensive folding knife you can use all day. That Persian Tall War. Fuck yeah, bro. Yeah. Right there.
I'm a monster cold steel fan, man.
Yeah, dude.
Well, now that because since we got cold steel in the room, Scab, I never realized how fucking big this knife is.
Yeah, it's a big knife.
This is
It's
the
a big
mayhem.
knife.
This thing is
big knife.
freaking. This is a huge knife. Like
Dude,
when
they
you
put-
see it, huh?
They put XL knives in your pocket. They're putting like 6-inch
nuts.
folding blades in your pocket.
You know, this is insane.
That's one of my favorites right there. The Colossus. I've always liked that one.
I've never seen that one, but it reminds me of their Spartan. So a long time ago, they had the Spartan.
Yep. I'm supposed to be getting 2 of them too, cold steel. But here's the thing with this, Peter.
Dude,
I'd like
you
to
are
see
busting
somebody.
the cold steel guy's balls. His balls have been turned fucking black and blue by you.
I love the guy, but you know, it's been a month. I'd like to see somebody do a fixed blade with that leaf shape. I like that leaf shape. I really do. I'd like to see.
The leaf is constantly slicing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Which one's that, Joe?
This is the 5 Max, which is another freaking huge.
The 5 Max is a monster, bro.
This is a monster. This is a monster, man.
It's ridiculously big.
It's bigger than my entire head.
But you know, they do a good job. They do a good job with the bigger folders. They really do. They really do.
What Cold Steel did better than anybody was Lynn Thompson knew how to advertise. So when he put out all those videos of pig cutting and rope cutting, and you know, he had those Demko designs that were super fucking strong. Like I said, I'm a student of the game. I'm not here for just like, I know the custom world, I know the production world, and I respect everybody. Like, you know, there's a place for all of it. And the problem is, I find that the knife world's filled with these gatekeepers, and they're like, if you don't like this, it's dumb. Or I saw a post, tell me the next thing you hate in the knife world, and it's like, dude, stop gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Just let people like whatever they like. And then maybe broaden your horizons and see if you might like that too, because you know, I like Pucos. I just never met. There are knives I've met I don't like, but they're few and far. They're not a lot. I like.
Well, speaking of knife designs, Cold Steel's calling you out, Peter, and they're saying, "Hey, Peter." Cold Steel say, "Hey, Peter, kukris are better than buoys." Change my mind.
Okay, let me change your mind. You are listen.
There's a lot of shit in the chat right now. A lot of people throwing shit in the chat right now, just so you know.
Kukris are not better than buoys. Okay, first of all, there's no way for us to have this argument in under an hour. Okay, so if you guys want to, because I've got kids upstairs. If you guys ever want to invite me back, I will make
You're always
buoy
welcome,
versus kukri argument. But let me start with this, okay?
Okay.
Whoever this Cold Steel person is, I understand how un-American you are. And I get that you don't love Listen, hold on. I get that you don't love patriotism and that you forgot what the flag looks like. But to me, if I had got to go to battle, I want the hero's weapon. And when I picture a hero on top of a mountain, he's not holding a fucking kukri. He's holding a buoy. So there you go. Is that a start at least?
That's a start. Hey, listen, you're welcome back here anytime you want to come. In fact, We always throw out the offer to, well, not always, because there's certain people we had on we don't like, but you're welcome back. And if you ever, if you ever want to make an announcement or you are going to do a production, just hit us up, man.
Yeah.
Because knife, it's not just blade talk. It's not just introducing Peter. It's just shooting the shit about knives and enjoying it. And that's what we want to bring.
I appreciate it.
And you're welcome anytime. Anytime you want to.
I appreciate you guys. I've had a lot of fun today. I actually have a 11-year-old girl who's upstairs who I promised to watch TV with tonight and to hang out with, so I can't stay on forever. But I appreciate you guys letting me tell some of my story and showing some of my work. I really hope you enjoy the honey badger, you know what I mean, and that it is at least fun for you. If I find other old school dark timbers out there, the one you got to look for, it's the cave bear. If I was going to take one of my designs camping, it would be called look for a cave bear. See if JR's got a cave bear.
We'll have to get one.
Because that was good.
Well, and I'll tell you, I believe that's my boy Luke. He said Peter started arguing with me outside of Blade Show. He doesn't know who I am. Scab, tell him.
Oh,
Yeah,
hey,
Scab,
what's
Luke.
up, Luke?
Luke is my
Hey,
dude, man. We had a good time.
Guys, I can't see the comments because my screen is all messed up, but I appreciate everybody for being here. And just because buoys are better and more American doesn't mean I don't like kukris. I made my wife a kukri for Naked and Afraid, to go to the Amazon jungle and to go to Louisiana swamps. It's just that you and she are wrong about what's good. That's all there is to it.
That's funny. I love it. Pete, I had a great time, man. This was amazing. You were great to have on. I mean, I knew this was going to be a great show. It was a lot of fun. And I'll basically echo what Scab had said. If you ever want to just shoot the breeze, you got something on your mind, you want to get out, you got something you want to release, something you want to talk about, hit me up, hit us up, and we'll definitely make a show out of it anytime. You're always welcome, buddy.
Cool, man. You guys should I could send them out. You can't beat them up because they got to go to customers. But if you guys ever want to see what some of that old world custom work looks like, I could check with some of my customers and see if they'd let me send it out to you. I mean, you're going to know off feeling a knife, what you like or what you don't like about it. But it'd be fun to get your guys' kind of bird's eye view at some of this custom world, you know what I mean? And you can guide people on what, I don't know if it would be good or not, but it'd be fun to have a custom knife, because I feel like custom knives don't end up on YouTube because custom knife makers are too scared to have their shit thrown out there, you know what I mean? And I would love to show more people what the other knives are cool, but these knives where you're really putting in so many more hours into the work, and there's so much more. I'm allowed to do more with this than I am with. Maybe what I'll do is I'll make a pass around custom, like something brutal with a Hamon, a mono steel custom, meaning instead of Damascus, it was just one. I don't want to spend 3 weeks making a knife that you guys throw through a car door. But
no, it doesn't have to be,
but I could spend 4 or 5 days making one that you throw through a car door, and that could be fun. So let me think about that.
We'll talk about that off air. We'll definitely talk about that more off air. But I want you to get back to your daughter too. I want you to definitely keep your promise. 11 years old is
Yeah.
a very important age, man. But
Yeah.
listen, to everybody in the chat, I can tell you guys are having a lot of fun in the chat. A lot of people throwing shit around, and everybody, it's all in good fun. We all had a great time, and welcome. Just thank you for being there. We had a packed room tonight, and Pete, thanks again, and your invitation's open anytime.
Awesome.
And that's it. So everybody have a good night. Scab, if you want to close it off.
I'll do it. Hey, Pete, hang out when we go off just for a minute. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always, always, always a joy. I don't know. There's just something about it. The response that we get from you guys, we appreciate you. We love you. Peter, thank you for joining us. I got to say it before we go. Guys, Blade Show doesn't happen without Joe. It does not. So, Joe, from the bottom of my heart, man, love you, appreciate you. Guys, we're out. Y'all have a great one, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good night, everybody. Until next Blade Talk, we got a good show coming up next week. Pete, thanks again. Hang out, Pete, after we end the live. And let's go with the outro. Guys, have a great night, and thanks again. Please comment if you have any questions. Ciao.